So thank you, Renske, so much for joining me on coping with COVID-19.
Yeah, you're very welcome.
Yeah, so let's talk about where you are in your pregnancy. How many weeks are you? And tell us a little bit about your household configuration.
Yeah, so I'm currently already 38 weeks and a few days actually. So it's nearing. And I live in Brooklyn with my husband and daughter. We have a 3-year-old daughter who is obviously home from her preschool right now. So I've been mostly with her because my husband had to go to the office still for the past couple of weeks. Luckily, as of last week, he's home, so now we can divide the task a little bit here. Um, yeah, so that's kind of where we are now.
Okay, so tell us that like when COVID-19 and the pandemic started to set in and it became more real, given that you were pregnant, how was this affecting you psychologically?
Yeah, so I thought about this, and it's interesting how it kind of dripped in or something, if that makes sense. Like it's sort of, I feel it sort of as a natural protection towards like like how bad this would be. So in the beginning, when we just learned, of course, about China, Europe, it was coming nearer. The first thing that actually happened is that my parents, who were actually planning to come mid-March to take care of our daughter during her spring break, couldn't fly out anymore. So they were stuck in Belgium where they live. But we were kind of like still in this sort of mood of like, oh, should we just let them fly today? Just when like still possible today. It's only closing out tomorrow, so let them fly in. And then we started to realize like, okay, might not be the best for them to fly right now and be in New York City with us. Let alone that they would be stuck here. And then of course like other restrictions were coming in, like the stay-at-home orders. At first, actually, restaurants were closing. So it kind of like was a sort of like a process towards like an actual realization, I think, what was happening. So that made it interesting, and also maybe naturally. You keep thinking a bit more positive than it is.
Yeah, so you had time to adapt to how it was evolving, and you did.
Exactly,
It was changing.
exactly.
Yeah.
That was kind of I think how it worked, at least for me. But I think like when this started to be really like real, there was a lot going on, of course, also in the hospitals with giving birth. At that time, like it was end of March, I think they started talking about don't allow partners within the birthing department or within your room already. So it was for I think a couple of weeks they didn't allow any partners,
Right.
which made it a bit scary at that time. Like I was luckily then still where was I then? I was still 6 weeks away, but I thought like, wow, this is going to be the situation that made me quite, a bit nervous for the whole thing.
Of course.
To have to do it by yourself, or I mean, you already. Luckily, it's not my first birthing experience. I really have a strong feeling that when it would be the first time, it would be much different for me. But still, I mean, not having your partner there, and also for your partner not to be at the birth of your child, that's one of the most negative experience I think you would have. So that made me a little worried at that time. But luckily, like physically and everything, I was feeling well. So that made that. I think I could still like handle things pretty good.
Yeah, and were you still able to go in for all of your OB visits?
Well, they reduced it a little bit. So usually I would go already by that time every 2 weeks, and then they postponed it with another 2 weeks.
Okay.
Really to limit the amount of patients. And luckily, I mean, again, like everything is going pretty well. So I wasn't too concerned about that, but still it feels a little tricky. Like when someone doesn't check you when you're actually supposed to be checked. Didn't feel completely comfortable, at least.
Of course, of course. And have you thought about, the worries about being pregnant